Hey, can you do me a favor? Likely you've been asked that question before. Or at your computer, you're minding your own business when suddenly you see pop up after pop up. What's at play is called compliance, a change in behavior brought about from direct request. Compliance is different than obedience from authority figures, which will be discussed in other videos. Ellen Langer conducted an experiment at a public library where people were standing in line to make copies. The experimenter asked three different types of questions. Question 1, I have 5 pages. Can I use the copier? Question 2, can I use the copier because I'm in a hurry? A specific reason, but not really a great one. And question 3, can I use the copier because I need to make copies? A general reason and not really a good one. Question 1, with no reason, resulted in 60% compliance, still surprisingly high. Question 2, with a specific reason but not a great one, resulted in 94% compliance. Question 3, with really a flimsy reason, still resulted in 93% compliance, surprisingly high. The researchers concluded that providing any reason is more important than what the reason is. Can asking for unusual amounts, such as a $7 donation, a 21 mile per hour speed limit, or 28% off, affect compliance? Unusual request to increase compliance is called the peak technique. Michael Santos set up an experiment in which the researcher asked for spare change. In one group, he asked for a quarter. In another group, he asked for 17 cents, an unusual amount. 60% more people complied when asked for 17 cents. Two main discoveries of this research. The unusual request makes the person think about the request itself, and the person asking for the unusual amount was seen as being more likable. Jerry Berger expanded upon this study. He asked one group of people to spare a quarter. The other group was asked for 37 cents. If people being asked for the change did not ask why, they were not given a reason. If people asked why the spare change was needed, they were given a random reason. Either because I need to buy something, a general reason, or because I need to buy a stamp, something specific. The group that was asked to spare a quarter had 19% compliance. For the groups that were asked to spare 37 cents, when no reason was provided, they had 26% compliance. When a general reason was given, I need to buy something, they had 70% compliance. When a specific reason was given, I need to buy a stamp, they had 87% compliance. They later changed the word need to want, which did not have a significant impact on the results. The conclusions? It's possible that people may respond with an acquaintance script. If I know you better, I'm more likely to help you. It's also possible that someone who responds to an unusual request may also just be the type of person who stops to ask why. People rarely think much about an unusual request. One specific compliance technique is called foot in the door. The name comes from the door-to-door sales days when the salesperson might literally try to stick a foot in the door in hopes of gaining a sale. Step 1 is to get a person to agree to a smaller request. Step 2, when the person agrees, ask for the real, larger request. An example, can I borrow $1? If you agree, then I'll ask to borrow 10. Researchers Freedman and Fraser conducted a foot-in-the-door experiment. They asked people to place a small sign about driver safety in their front window of their house. If they agreed, they came back later to ask if they would place this very large sign in their front yard. The group that was only asked about the large sign agreed only 17% of the time. The group that was asked about both signs complied 70% of the time, a huge difference. The next technique is called door in the face, which got its name from the salesperson getting the door literally slammed in his face. First, a large, outlandish request is made that is rejected, really the figurative door slam. Then, the real but smaller request is made. For example, can I borrow $10,000? That's likely to get rejected, the door slam. Then I ask to borrow $100, the smaller but real request. Experiments for door in the face included one such famous study in which people were asked to volunteer for 2 hours a day for 2 years at a juvenile detention center, and there was no pay. Then they were asked to take juvenile delinquents for one 2-hour zoo trip. When asked only about the zoo, only 17% complied. But when asked about the 2-year commitment, then asked about the zoo trip, 50% complied. That's not all is another compliance technique. You've seen this in very well-known commercials for a long time. First, a deal is offered. Then, before the customer has a chance to respond, the deal is sweetened. Either the price is lowered or a bonus item is offered. For example, if you're selling a hammer, you can say, but wait, you also get free shipping and even a second hammer for the same price. Burger conducted an experiment in which cupcakes were sold. In one group, cupcakes were sold for 75 cents. In another group, cupcakes were first sold for $1. Before the customer had a chance to respond, the price was changed to 75 cents. For the second group, sales increased by almost 30%, even though they were both offered at the same price of 75 cents. Another compliance technique is called bait and switch. First, an item or service is offered. Second, once the offer is accepted, you say it's unavailable and replace it with a more expensive, lesser quality item or service. This is a fishing analogy, where the fish sees the bait, thinks it's food, only to have its food switched to a trap. For example, a cool car can be had at a great price. You agree to that price, then it's switched to a worse car at a higher price. Clickbait originates from the bait and switch technique. You can use your awareness of these tactics and avoid the traps. You have the power of knowledge. These techniques are in 2 steps, so if you recognize the first step, be alert to what might happen next. Many of these techniques have a commitment, or at least a perceived commitment, on your part, which can lead to a feeling of reciprocity, a feeling of obligation, a sort of, I'll scratch your back since you scratched mine. But don't take the cheese. Remember, you have the power of no. You can walk away from the deal.